Alright, hello and welcome back to another player ratings here. Unfortunately, after a good game against Manchester United, which we should have won 2-1 with the awfully ruled out handball goal against Kessie, we still played a great performance and the team was coming off of a high. Unfortunately, we had more injuries as Kyer was not doing so well. Benacer still unable to recover. Romagnoli's still unable to recover, so defense we thought was going to be in tatters because we were going to have to run Tomori and Gabbia. Gabbia hasn't played in months, so everybody was a little bit worried. Theo, although it was coming back, so that should have been good for us. Calabria, unfortunately, was out, so we knew that our right side would be a little bit weak, as our right side today consisted of Dalot and Castillejo, and I don't think that scares a single team, probably in the entire world. But since we have Hernandez back, we should have been okay on the left side at least, but we had to play Krunic there as well, who, while he's been doing well, he's definitely a better attacking mid than he is a wide player. So a little bit of a strange formation today. We still have Ibrahimovic out, and this has just been crushing us as ever since that happened, we look so anemic. It's just not a good look for us. So I'll get into it a little bit later as to what we need to do to get around this and get through this moment, because we are, as I called a long time ago, we are 100% at threat of not making top four. There are very good teams right behind us. Juventus is actually, I consider them ahead of us because they have a game in hand. They'll probably win it, which puts them, I believe, 2 points ahead of us. So Inter's gone. We're not catching them. They have a way better team. They have a way deeper team. We did great holding on to them for a little while, but once the injuries started to show, we just don't have the quality and depth to hold up. If we never had injuries to Ibra or to Benacer, actually even with the Benacer injury, we were fine. But mainly it's all about Ibra. If we didn't have the injury to Ibra, we'd probably still be fighting them for first place. But he is old. He's 39 years old. It is what it is. And we needed to really reinforce in January. Yes, Mandzukic in theory would have been smart, but he's not fit, and boom, he's already injured. If we really wanted to be serious about this, we should have picked up a striker in January. Might have been a good idea to loan somebody else in just to have some depth, because if you're relying on two quite old players to hold down the fort for the rest of the season, it's probably not a great idea when you're playing in Europa League plus Serie A. Either way, let's get into it. Player ratings. Donnarumma at the back. I'll give him a 6, but borderline 5.5. I don't think there was too much he could have done about the goal, but it wasn't a well-hit shot, so I think that he could have probably stopped that. I don't really blame him. The blame, I will definitely get to that in about a minute or two here, but so overall, 6. Diogo Dalot on the right, I didn't see anything terrible from him, but I didn't also see anything special. This is exactly what happens every single time he plays on the right side. I've always said it, he should be the deputy to Theo. He's on the left side. I get that we had to play him today because we had injuries, and that's fine. He should play there. That was the right call. But he just doesn't do anything great there. He's like a flat-out 6 every single time he plays there. So that's what he gets, a 6. Fikayo Tomori, excellent game today. I really appreciated his movement. His on-the-ball marking is exceptional. His pace is amazing. It seems like it happens about once or twice a game. He will leave his man aerially, and they almost got a goal off of it, so he escaped that one, or else it would have been another situation, again, like against Manchester United when he didn't mark his man aerially and they got the goal. It almost happened again today, but he dodged that one, and then he didn't make that mistake again for the rest of the game, and he really played quite excellently. So Tomori gets a 7. He was awesome. Matteo Gabbia, a lot of questions. Can he hold up to the pace? He's coming in after not playing in months against Napoli, who's a very hard team to defend against since they have a great attack. Some people might say that he was slightly at fault for the goal. Yeah, he's slightly at fault for the goal, but the massive blame comes to the next person on the list. And overall, Matteo Gabbia played very well. He had to go up against very good opposition. He won most of the challenges that he was involved in. He was strong in the air. I thought he had a very good return, and this says very good things about him going forward. To be completely honest, I actually haven't seen Gabbia play a single bad game yet, which is very cool for a youngster. He wasn't outstanding, but he definitely was not bad. He definitely held his own. He gets a 6. Theo Hernandez. This is the guy who made the biggest mistake. It is so classic every time Milan gets scored on. Not every time, but so much. When he leaves up the field, he just goes bombing down the field, which is fine. Okay, I get it, great. But when he does that, you leave everybody exposed. Now you're going to play a really high line, right, and hope that you make a great challenge. But if Theo gets exposed and they start crashing down that right side, which is what always happens, then boom, now you have to have your center back swing over and try to cover way too much ground. You only have 2 midfielders, mind you, in this amazing formation that Pioli decides to keep playing. You have 2 midfielders. You don't even have 3. You don't even have like a left center mid to go help out and cover for Hernandez when he's gone. Newsflash, that's exactly where I'm going with this stuff later. But if Hernandez is going to leave, you've got to have somebody covering for him there. And it can't happen in the formation that we're playing. And when it does happen, the rest of your formation gets really, really wonky. And so, boom, he leaves. And actually, he didn't even go too far. He's just too lazy to run back hard and cover Politano. He doesn't even try to cover him. Now Gabbia has to run over. He can't catch him in time, which I don't know if that's his fault or not. I don't actually think it is, but maybe you could blame him a little bit. But literally 90% of this goal falls on Theo Hernandez. 1, for going way too far up the field. 2, for actually being close enough to do anything about it and not working his ass off to get back. So Theo Hernandez really bummed me out today. He did well getting forward, that's what he does, but he is becoming a defensive liability, not on his marking in general, but just by formation. And really that's more on Pioli and not as much on Hernandez, but he gets a 5 because he didn't try hard enough. He didn't work hard enough getting back when he definitely could have, and he could have helped stop Politano. Next up is going to be front Kessie. He played a very good game, I thought. He's always working hard. Didn't really do anything stand out, but just solid, controlled the ball, did well across the pitch. I would say it's a slightly, I guess it's a, when I call it an above average performance, for Kessie, that's average, because he always plays above average. So he gets a 6.5. Nothing special. He doesn't get his classic 7 or 7.5 that I always seem to give him, but 6.5 today. Next up, Sandro Tonali. The first 15 or 20 minutes, he seemed a little shaky, a little bit nervous, but he had a great game after that. I really thought that he came into his own. He started taking over the game. He started actually showing for the ball. Sometimes you'll see him hide in midfield a little bit. He didn't do that, especially in the second half. He really started to take over, look for the ball, take control, dictate play. And once they had him start crossing balls in, the game opened up for us. We had some chances. I have always said this. Sandro Tonali delivers by far the best ball on our entire team. The only person who could maybe rival him would have been Ibrahimovic in his prime. Sandro Tonali definitely delivers the best crosses, the best passing free kicks. Now, Calhanoglu and Ibra shoot better, so they have better shooting free kicks if we're in a scoring range. But Tonali should be taking our crosses. Tonali should be taking our crossing free kicks and our corner kicks. He delivers such a pacey, deadly ball almost every single time. He did great. He was very, very solid defensively as well. I would definitely give him a 7. He was one of the better players today. Samu Castillejo, anemic. Works hard, not a lot of product. Classic Samu. We should definitely move him on at the end of the season. I think Salamakers is better. They're similar players, and Salamakers is just better. So Castillejo has to go. He works hard. I like his fight. I will never give him flack for that. I like that he really fights for this shirt. He definitely bleeds for this shirt, and I really like that about him. But he's not good enough to take us to the next level. And he was just very anemic. That whole right side, absolutely nothing was happening on it. I mean, you've got Dalot and Castillejo. It was just a mess. There was nothing happening. There was nothing good coming off of it. I don't even think Napoli had to play defense on that side. So Samu gets a 5. Hakan, I actually thought he did pretty decent. He looked a little bit off, which you can tell his touch was a little bit off. His shooting was off too. He just didn't have that, but he worked hard. He looked okay, and it's nice to start to see him come back because we're really going to need him going forward if we have any chance at holding on to top 4, to be completely honest. We need him playing awesome. We need him playing awesome. We need Rebic back, and we need Ibra. Those 3 players make our attack because the rest, they're just not good. I mean, Leao is okay, but he's a kid. He needs to play off of somebody. He can't go man aligned by himself. Yes, everybody's very harsh on him, and it's not really deserved because Pioli's putting him in a position to fail, essentially. So it's not all his fault. His lack of effort in a lot of games is his fault, but it's not all his fault. It's really just when you need Rebic, you need Ibra, and you need Calhanoglu fire on all cylinders if we're going to hold on to this. So I overall thought it was a pretty decent performance. I'm glad that he's back. I would give him a 6. It was pretty standard. Maybe a 5.5 because his touch was a little bit off, but close enough to a 6. Rade Krunic, he's been coming off of really, really good form recently. Most of it, though, is in the attacking mid spot. It's unfortunate. It was kind of like a double-edged sword, right? We had to play Calhanoglu in the hole, which he should. But then that pushes Krunic out wide, and I don't think I would have done that. I probably would have given Hauga at least a chance to play on the left and give him a start and see how he does. Krunic has been in good form, but he just doesn't do much off of the left wing. And today he was really, really anemic. He wasn't bad. I mean, it's not like he did anything wrong, but there was just nothing happening there. Theo would drive up, and then it would just die. The whole play would just die. So that's not where he belongs. I think Krunic, yes, he can play everywhere. He can make things happen, but he's definitely actually good at the attacking midfield role. He's okay at out wide because he doesn't have much pace. 5.5 for Krunic. Leao, he worked harder today. Against Man U, he worked hard. Today, he worked harder as well. He was pretty decent. He was making some things happen early, but he faded later. And I'll get into all this when I talk about Pioli, but he's really been put in a position to fail. So 5.5 for Leao. Subs. Salamackers brought a nice intensity to the game. He was definitely better than Castillejo. 6. Ante Rebic was actually quite good. I thought he played a really nice game, but he made a really, really dumb move in talking back to the ref. And I get it. It was a heated game, but what he needs to think about is we need him so bad for this season that he can't afford to do stupid stuff like that, because now he's out for the next game. And without Rebic, we have to play somebody random at our left wing again. It's really, really turning into a problem when we have these players out. You're going to go get a red card for dissent to the ref when we've got an injury crisis? Come on, man. It's just ridiculous. So while I would have normally given him a 6 or even a 6.5 with what he brought to the game, he gets a 5 today because he made a really stupid move. And I don't know. I think that Milan should have a serious talking with players like this who they don't want to be, yes, I get it. He's fighting for the shirt. He's trying hard. But they need to think ahead of what our goal is. We're done for the Scudetto. Drop it. It's over. You need to beat teams like Napoli. They are your direct rivals. You either tie them or you beat them. Losing to them gives them the edge in the head-to-head, which now I guess we'd be tied in the head-to-head. But that is a direct 6-point swing, essentially, is what happened there. We didn't gain any, and they gained 3. So, awful. Brahim Diaz, he brought a little bit of injection of pace. He actually was pretty decent, but just that end product is not much. I do like his effort, but just wasn't too much going on there. Between a 5.5 and a 6, probably closer to a 5.5. Swalio Mate, I've actually been, the past 2 weeks, I've actually thought he's played really well. I think he started to settle into the team. He's kind of turning me around a little bit. I thought he was very, very pointless, and for the most part he has been. But the past 2 games he's really, really stepped up, and I actually thought that today he fit the team better than when he played against Man U. He played well against Man U for sure, but he fit this role a little better, like kind of playing more of a destroyer role, but who can also pass, because him and Tonali actually played very well off of each other. When you put him more in the kind of defensive role to where he can use his strength, let Tonali a little bit more free. So actually he was a better sub for Kessie than he has been for Tonali. So the Kessie-Mate combo is not as good. They're pretty physical, but they're not as great. I actually liked Mate plus Tonali. That was pretty good. So I would actually give Mate a 6, maybe even a 6.5. He's getting there. So hopefully he continues this form, because it would be really, really nice to have another midfielder we can trust. So he's starting to turn me around. I'm very, very happy with what I'm seeing. Last and definitely least, Stefano Pioli. The past 5 weeks, I've been all over Pioli. He has been the main reason that we have been failing. Yes, we're in an injury crisis, but as a coach, you have to know how to handle this. And the number one thing we have to do is change our formation. Why do you have to do this? Because you have to play a formation that suits the players you have at your disposal. That's the job of a coach. Pioli is so enamored with his success with the team that he had early in the season that he just can't change anything. He's stuck in his ways. He made the switch to a 4-2-3-1. It was the right call, and if all of our people are healthy, it is the right formation. But we don't have everybody healthy, so stop shoving it down the team's throats and just play a formation that will work. You should be playing a 3-4-1-2. Why? Because it actually puts your players in the best positions possible, and it gives support and attack, which we are completely anemic. What is the weakest part of our team right now? Our wingers, right? You have to play with Krunic and Samuel Castillejo. So why would you play wingers every single game when those 2 positions suck? Now, when you have Salamakers in, that's pretty good. When you have Rebic in or Leao playing out wide, that's pretty decent. So you can afford to play that way. But when you have an injury crisis and you got to put players out of position, why the heck would you play it? Additionally, and probably the most significant thing here, well, actually 2 of them, when Theo Hernandez goes up, which I've already alluded to, you're playing with a 2-man midfield essentially. And so now one of those 2 who's supposed to sit centrally has to slide out wide and cover. If they're up the field at all, we're screwed. And that happens all the time. You can't rely on that. So if he wants to play with a bombing left back like Theo Hernandez, well, you have to play with a 3-man midfield. It's just the way it has to be. I'm sorry, you can't get away with having a left back gone 90% of the game and only playing 2 in the mid. That is such a dumb formation. I can't believe he still runs it. If he wants Theo to be more balanced, it will work, right? But if he wants Theo to keep doing what Theo does, then he has to change his formation and play him more like a wingback, like Hakimi. Think of what Inter does, right? Hakimi is free to go up front, and it actually is a benefit to Inter because he's so fast. That is exactly what we could gain by the 3-4-1-2. Theo Hernandez could become a threat once more rather than being a liability right now because of what's happening in our team. So I really think we need to be going with a 3-4-1-2. I don't care if we have an injury crisis. It's what we need to play. You can put Calhanoglu at right center back. You could put Gabbia in the middle. You could put Tomori on the left. It doesn't matter because you're going to have support in those wide players as well. You put Theo at wing back. You could even put, if Salamakers is on the right side, you have Dalot there. Obviously Calabria would start. But when he's not in, you have plenty of players. Even Castillejo could play there. He works hard. There's a lot of options. And then in the midfield, you actually can make this thing work. So I don't really get it. And the last point of that is that you actually can now put Leao in a position to succeed. Why would you play a one-striker formation when you don't have Zlatan Ibrahimovic? That's the type of guy who can do a one-striker formation. He takes up so much space. He's a constant threat. The defense has to watch him constantly. He can play with his back to goal. He can score out of nowhere. He can header it so you can actually cross. Explain to me this, why you would play with a one-striker formation and cross the ball in non-stop when you have a striker like Leao, who's not a great header of the ball. He's not an aerial dominant figure, and he can't play with his back to goal. Why the hell would you play a crossing formation? Don't do that. Stack the mid more and start playing more using their strength, their speed, their interlinking play. Let him play off of another striker. Run two up top. Run Leao Rebic up top with Diaz behind him or Calhanoglu behind him. Then you have Theo bombing down the wings, Castillejo or Calabria, whoever bombing down the other wings. That's your width right there. You need to be playing this formation. I have no idea why we're not doing it. This will crush us if we keep trying to jam this formation through. And if Pioli doesn't figure this out within the next few games, we will lose top 4, and he needs to get his ass out immediately. If he figures it out, he qualifies us top 4, and we start seeing changes, then I guess he should stay. He should for sure stay to the end of the season because changing coach now would be brutal, but I can't believe that he hasn't learned this yet. And it's really, really ruining our chance to the top 4. So I obviously you can probably tell I'm pretty upset about it, but I can't believe nobody's figured this out yet. So let's just move on to the best and the worst. Best of the match, Fikayo Tomori and Sandro Tonali. Both of those guys had an awesome game. It's really nice to see some new players doing great stuff for Milan. It's nice to see Tonali start to grow into his own. And Tomori at this point, if he shows us a couple more good games, he's an easy redemption. So I hope he keeps playing the way that he's playing because he could be super, super important for us no matter who plays next to him. If it's Kyer, if it's Romagnoli, he's kind of establishing himself as a lock of the team, which is really, really cool for somebody to come in winter. So hopefully he plays a couple more solid games and then redemption is easy. Worst of the match, Hernandez, Rebic, Castillejo. Really, Castillejo just did nothing. Theo made a massive mistake in causing the goal, and Rebic got a red card. That's why they're on there. Castillejo was definitely the worst of the match overall if you want to go by who played the worst. He just didn't do anything. But Theo and Rebic made big mistakes in their own right, so they deserve to be on that list too. Lastly, I'll kind of highlight some key points that I had already kind of talked about some of them, but just to kind of go over them again. Tomori's man marking, exceptional. He had only one aerial mistake earlier on in the game, which he had against Man U, which kind of caused the goal. But as I said earlier, he fixed that. He didn't really have any besides the first one early in the game, which Napoli probably should have scored that one. But after that, though, he didn't really have any other issues, and his marking was just excellent. Him and Gabbia played very well off each other, and they did very well. Same type of goals keep getting scored on us the entire season. Hernandez leaves. We have two-man midfield. The right wing of the opponent causes us big problems. Look at what happened against Juve, right? Chiesa dominated us. He dominated Hernandez, right? Because he's going up running half the field and he has to come back and try and defend. It's just not working. Inter, same thing. Whenever Lukaku would score, look where he'd come from, the right side. Then Romagnoli's got to run across. He's not very fast and he's forced to cover a ton of ground. It's really, really stupid on Pioli's part. He's putting people in a position to fail. He puts, essentially, the people he puts in a position to fail right now. Our striker, when Ibra's not there. Then he puts our D mid in position to fail too, because he has to cover way too much ground when Theo leaves. And then our left center back every time. So, not too smart. Tonali starting to come into his own. I'm very, very happy. I actually think you should be giving him more responsibility because then you kind of get to watch him grow. Once he started taking the kicks and whatnot, you saw him start to really step up his game, have more confidence. He by far delivers the best ball on our team. He should be taking the corners if he's in, and he should also be taking the crossing free kicks. He delivers a far better ball than Hakan. If it's a shooting free kick, it's got to be Hakan or Ibra. Or sometimes Theo when he wants to drive it. Stop the Leao striker experiment. You have to change the formation to benefit the players you have. He needs to play off of somebody. He needs to play in a two-striker formation unless Ibra is there. If Ibra's not there, it's got to be two strikers. Sorry, Pioli, it's not working anymore. And lastly, Pioli should stay until the season's end by far, for sure, right? You really can't just go fire a coach right now and expect them to hold on to top four. He still has the players, supporting him, so he's got to stay. But if he doesn't find changes and work this thing out, he's got to go for sure. Even if he qualifies top four, but he sticks with the same formation, doesn't make any changes, doesn't bring the best out of his players anymore, he needs to go because nothing's going to happen after this, and we're going to fail. That being said, I don't think I would find somebody else unless there's somebody else good out there, right? I don't want to see Pioli go just to replace him with a lateral move and somebody who's kind of average. So I think when we do get rid of him, there's got to be somebody decent out there. Those are my thoughts here. Very, very disappointing game today. It's actually a game, even with all the injuries, that we could have won, at the very least tied and keep Napoli the same distance away from us. But we really failed, and this is going to speak volumes into our title race. So the title race is over, but I guess more what I meant is top four. So it's going to be hard to hold on to the top four. Lazio is doing well. They're pulling off late victories. Juve is going to be ahead of us after one more game. So you can already count them as ahead of us. They're just a better team than us right now. And so it's going to be between us, Atalanta, Napoli, and Roma. Fortunately, Roma lost today, but Atalanta, Lazio, Napoli, those are our threats, and we just lost to one of them. That's it, guys. Hopefully we do well next week, and we are able to beat Man U. That would be at least a big boon for our confidence. As always, thank you so much for watching and tuning in, and Forza Milan.